Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, children. Welcome to the online session Ekalaiva. Today, we are going for an interesting chapter, children. That is, the revolt of 1857. Why this chapter holds a credit even to this day? Why are we remembering the revolt of 1857? What is the main reason to study this chapter we are going to study, children? Now, we do have another name for this chapter, that is the First War of Independence. You already know that we got independence on August 15th, 1947. Do you think that we got independence in the overnight? No. For almost a century, we fought for it and finally we got the independence. And of course, this war is said to be a trendsetter in order to get our independence. Right, children? Shall we go for the lesson? Yes. Now, I already told you the revolt of 1857 is not the main cause itself. We do have lots of causes for this revolt. We do have lots of lives sacrificed for this revolt. Shall we go for the causes, children? Yes. Social cause and religious cause. What are the social and religious cause, children? What made the people to fight against the Britishers, and what are the causes we are going to study step by step. Initially, we are going with the social and the religious cause. Now, you already know about Sati system. What do you mean by Sati systems, children? Sati system is nothing but a woman falling into the funeral of her husband. It might be forcibly or willingly. Then child marriage. What do you mean by child marriage? Child marriage means where the children are getting married by their parents, or a girl child being married to an older man. Both of this system was not liked by the Britishers. They just abolished this system because they said that the sati system was really illegal, and it is said to be very unconditional for the women to just have such a forcible death. Then child marriage, where the young children are married, where they are not knowing the actual meaning of the marriage, or the girl child married to an older man. So they thought that this should not be existing, and they just tried to abolish it. Not only that, they legalized the widow remarriage. What do you mean by widow, children? Widow is nothing but the woman who lost her husband. So if a woman is just lost her husband, she has to, or she can get married to a man whom she likes. This was actually legalized. The people, that is the Indian people, who were just following the three age-old customs, and who were just having lots of blind beliefs, did not like these children. They did not like the Britishers just interrupting into their social and traditional cause. Finally, they just fought against the Britishers not to do all these things. When they started into interrupting into their personal affairs, this created a hatred against the Britishers by the Indians. Then what was the religious cause? The Britishers started to just propagate and have or increased lots of their missionaries in order to increase their religion. This was not liked by the Indian people, who just followed and just had the footsteps of Hinduism. They finally propagated in such a way where all the people used to just change their value for Hinduism. Finally, when this type of interference came from the Britishers to the Indian customs, the British people started to just force the Indians to follow all these things, and Indian people did not like this. So this was the social and the religious cause, children. Shall we move for the second one? Yes. Political cause. What is the political cause, children? You had already known about the doctrine of lapse, right? Doctrine of lapse, which was introduced by none other than Lord Dalhousie. Who introduced this? Lord Dalhousie. Now, what is the actual meaning of doctrine of lapse? Doctrine of lapse means when the king or a queen is not having the natural heir or a successor, then automatically that kingdom will be annexed by the British. This was not liked by the Indian rulers who did not have their natural heir. If they were not having their natural heir, they will just adopt the other relative children and they used to just make them to sit on the throne. But this was not done when this doctrine of lapse came. One of the victim on this category was none other than our own Jhansi Lakshmi Bai. Okay, you already know that she didn't have a natural heir and she adopted a relative's son, but finally it was annexed by the British. Then third cause, that is economic cause. Now, economic cause can be divided into three categories, children. That is decline of traditional industries. What do you mean by traditional industries? You already know that Indians were known for its handicrafts, right, children? And handicrafts in India was flourishing. But when the Britishers came to our country, automatically it started to decline. They started to just give their goods in the market, and finally we became a source of, we in the sense I'm talking about the Indians, became a source of cheap raw materials and a market for their finished goods. So our handicrafts did not have any value, right, children? Then secondly, decline of agriculture, where India is said to be having their main occupation of agriculture even today. These agriculturists were forced to grow commercial crops rather than food crops. You already knew that, children, that the food crops was said to be a crop which was given more importance as far as our country is concerned. But because for the profit purpose, the Britishers forced the Indian farmers to grow the commercial crops. This led to the frequent famines in various parts of the country. And finally, the Britishers did not pay any heed to the poverty and suffering of the Indians. This just enraged the Britishers and the Indians on the whole when the Indians started to just fight for their poverty. Then finally, we do have the land reform policies which was introduced by the Britishers. What did actually occur here, children? Here you can see the people or the farmers who had the tiny plots. They were not able to just give the revenue which was forced by the Britishers. When they were not able to pay the revenue, they started to take the amount as a loan from the Britishers, and later on it led to debt. So they all fell into a debt trap. Because of this debt, all the people were forced to just work under the British as a bonded labor. This was not at all only for the farmers who had a tiny plot children, but also to the zamindars who were not able to pay the revenue. Their land was forcibly taken over by the Britishers. Did you get it, children? Yes. Then, military costs. What is that military cause which made the people, that is the Indian people, to fight against the Britishers? The Indian people who were working under the British Army were not paid high. They were not given any promotions according to their seniority. Only the Britishers were in the higher level getting the highest salary, and we can see the bias between the Britishers and the Indian army people. This was not liked by the Indian army people who were working for the British army. Then secondly, the British just discouraged and demotivated the people who were having their religious mark. What is that religious mark, children? Religious mark, for example, I can give that Punjabis were having a beard and the turban. Okay, and we Indians had a mark on our forehead. All this mark was made to be just banned, and no one should have that. This just prickled the Indians' tradition and customs, children. And finally, according to the General Service Enlistment Act of 1856, forced new recruits to cross the seas to fight wars. And the Britishers were not going out of India, only the Indian people were forced to move out of our country and fight for them, leaving their family aloof. Finally, children, we are coming to the immediate cause. What is that immediate cause which made the Indians to just fight against the Britishers who were taunting us? We already know that was not the first incidents where the Britishers were just torturing us. We already have so many of causes, and some of them have written over here. But this immediate cause made the Indian people to fight against the Britishers. And what is that cause which enraged the Indian people? We are going to see now, children. The British introduced Enfield rifle, Enfield rifle, where the rifle had a greased cartridge, right, children? Greased cartridge, which was made out of the fat of cow and pig. We already know that the cow was a sacred animal for the for the Indians, and pig was said to be a unhygienic animal. So this was not liked by the Indians. At the initial stage, the Indian people did not know about it. But a rumor spread that the grease was made out of cow or the pig fat. The Indians got enraged. Not only that, children, the rifle, that is, which had this greased cartridge, had to be bitten open before being loaded into the rifle. Had to be bitten open. So what happened? They should bite it before just loading it. This really enraged the Indian people, and this was the main and immediate cause for the revolt of 1857, children. I think I have made you clear. We'll go for the PowerPoint presentation, right? Okay. Now, of course, you already know that this is the history chapter and we are going with the revolt of 1857. When I was starting this lesson to you, I told you this war was not done or started in the overnight, children. It was just these causes which I've just told you made Indians to fight against the Britishers. Now we are going to see the causes of the Indian independence. Now this is the political cause which made the people to enrage who did not have a natural heir, and the best example is Rani Lakshmi Bai of Jhansi. And these are the social reforms. Of course, you already know that the sati system and the child marriage over here was abolished, and the Britishers were for the legalization of widow remarriage. And finally, you can just see the economic causes where the land was being abducted by the Britishers, and the Indians were made as a bonded labor, and even the zamindars were not left free. The crop protection was not done. The commercial crop was made to grown forcibly. And finally, our traditional industries, that is the handicrafts, was completely collapsed. This is the military cause, where we had the deprivation of the allowances, ill treatment of Indian soldiers, less chances of promotions, lower salaries, and Indian soldiers were completely banned from the religious marks. And of course, according to the General Service Enlistment Act of 1856, forced new recruits to cross the seas, children, to fight against the war for the sake of the Britishers. And of course, this is the immediate cause which made the Indians to fight against the Britishers. And of course, when the Britishers started to touch our sentiments, we can go anywhere to fight again in order to just save our religious or the customs which we followed for the long time, and we are following till now. And of course, these are the assignment, children, which is expected for the examination. Thank you, children. I think I have made you clear about the chapters which you can just see to it that the chapter is said to be very important and very known topic for you people. And I can just say that this chapter is really holding a great credit to our country even to this day, children. And I'm not yet finished the chapter. We have just finished the causes of the revolt. You do have part 2 also, where you're going to study about the failure of this of this revolt and the consequence of this revolt. Have a nice day, children. Take care and be safe.